Ladies and gentlemen, boys and germs, welcome to the SAP, formerly known as the Sex Actually Podcast, super formerly known as the You Up Podcast. What will it be called next? We don't know. Should we change it? We don't care. We're just ready to keep talking to you guys about dating, relationships, and sometimes love. Joining me as always, or I shouldn't say as always, but most of the time, is my fiance and also co-host of the podcast, Tasha Marie Courtney.
Hello.
And I am Dave Neal. From the great state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations, joined by Tasha's Northern Kentucky pride, formerly a Confederate. Were you a Confederate state?
No, neutral state.
But you had a lot of Confederate flags for a neutral state. You weren't exactly Canada. Right?
Why are you shitting on Kentucky? You said the full name of Rhode Island. Rhode Island and Providence Plantations.
For those people that are just listening only, you're wondering what Tasha has in her mouth. It's a granola bar.
I was trying to bring in some ASMR vibes before.
Go for it. Start off with some ASMR vibes. Yeah, go for it. That's actually pretty good.
I could make a killing doing this. I've thought about my backup plan for
the only way
making money in the time of Corona.
Hooking.
If we don't go back to work, feet photos, feet videos.
You
can make a killing selling pictures of your feet on the internet.
What if I did foot?
Apparently 1 in 5 people has a foot fetish.
What if I did foot ASMR and it was just me picking off the dead calluses on my heels?
It's disgusting, but I'm sure it's somebody's thing.
Can you imagine I become rich just from just working on that dead toenail of mine? Just clink, clink, clink.
By the way, I found a toenail on the couch today, and I know it was from you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Gross.
Yeah. I put it off to the side. You know what I mean? Well, I used to be way worse. Like growing up, I used to put a snot underneath the couch or something.
Gross.
I try my best not to do that anymore, but you know what I mean? Out of sight, out of mind. I literally, this is going to be really gross, but yeah, when I was a kid, I had like a snot wall.
That's so disgusting.
It's so gross. And I'm not kidding either.
No, I believe you.
Imagine if you had a spot that you could reach from your bed, that you'd throw a snot onto, but imagine, after 6 months, that just kind of becomes some sort of boulder wall for, ants.
I saw a picture. I think
rock climbing.
It was someone who works at one of those places like Carfax or whatever that actually buys used cars. And it was the side of the driver's seat, just this one area towards the back side of the driver's seat that was covered with a giant 4-inch by 6-inch patch of boogers. That's disgusting.
Yeah, it is. And I understand that it can happen. We're doing great today, I think. I think we're having a good day. But for those loyal listeners, we are a full 48 hours late on the upload of this episode, which doesn't happen often in the 6-year run of this podcast. Normally it's rain, sleet, or snow, like the Postal Service. I, too, am in $8 billion in debt. That was a quick one.
The Postal Service is perfectly solvent, just so we're all on the same page.
What are you talking about?
They're not in
debt.
They
need an $8 billion bailout.
Hey, no, this is what happened. You want to get real about the
Post Service?
I
watched the John Oliver video too. I understand what happened.
What happened is they just arbitrarily made up that they needed to have their pension fully funded 30 years in advance, which is
sending them billions into debt because they can't afford to pay it. And they also capped off the price of the packages.
They can afford to pay it. But if you force them to have all this money in cash up front, then it makes it look like they're not solvent. They're perfectly solvent.
But what happened is they basically capped off the price that companies like Amazon have to pay for shipping. So basically the companies like Amazon are getting a deal using the Postal Service.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, this isn't a partisan issue. This is
when it's really issue. The Postal Service that they have that last mile rule that none of the other people do. So plenty of packages that should be Amazon, UPS, FedEx responsibility end up going to the Postal Service for that last mile. But because the Postal Service guarantees service to everyone, even if you live on a remote island.
Did you know
that takes a boat to get to?
The Postal Service will send a mule down the Grand Canyon to deliver mail?
Yeah, because they're
not a private company and they can do it. Yeah. Well, these are facts no one needed to know.
Just saying, go buy some stamps. Support the post office.
Yeah, speaking of the post office, What a good transition. We just sent a box of soap out to, by the way, whenever we send a box of soap out, the person always looks at us like we got a bomb in that box because, well, it smells really good. It doesn't smell like a bomb. It smells really nice. But people are always wondering what it is because it's very fragrant. You know, it's just like it's like a box full of peppermint snow. The
person asked you at the post office?
They always ask you if you got any firearms in there. I feel like they have to ask you that. You know, like anyone's going to say yes. Of course not. But anyway, we've got our soap is on its way to Huntley down in Texas, one of our newest Patreon members. So that's on the way. And then a couple other postcards to other new Patreon members that have joined. Of course, when you join the Patreon, you get a postcard. We'll send it anywhere in the world. So that's that. And we're doing okay. We just, we were supposed to upload this podcast Sunday. We had a guest cancel on us about 9 minutes before the podcast. We were at a remote location, not to be mentioned, far from home, and I brought the frickin' podcast gear, set it up in a very tough environment. I was also I took a nap beforehand because I was feeling so tired. I mean, I was out of my element, and then they canceled. And it's funny because I was just talking to Jess Mulder, past podcast guest, who was complaining about the same thing, that she keeps on having guests cancel on her podcast. And it's like, we're doing Skype interviews. We're literally...
if you can't drag yourself out of bed and make yourself available for a Skype interview... I would say there's some problems.
But with that said, we are 48 hours late on our end. So there's...
Who cares? No one's listening right now anyway because everyone listens on their commute and people aren't commuting. So...
Well, there's a vote of confidence. No.
What does that know? That has nothing to do with confidence. That's just the logistics of it is that listenership is down because of the coronavirus right now. That's okay. That's not something we have to take personally. That's perfectly normal. When people go back to work, then they're going to have a backlog of episodes to listen to and listenership is going to go way up.
You know what's tough? When you don't listen for X amount of time on the Apple podcast app, it'll just stop downloading and then it'll be like, you still want to listen to this? So people will choose, now we're good. You know what I mean? It just happens. There's podcasts I used to listen to that I stopped listening to because I had too many of my other podcasts to catch up on. So while we might be somebody's favorite, if we're somebody's like Thursday afternoon, imagine we're somebody's casual fuck, right? Well, maybe they don't have enough time for casual fucking, so they're stuck fucking the other better fuck. So now we could have become the better fuck.
Why do you have this outlook on us?
I'm just saying we're not everybody's.
You should think that you should reframe your mind to always default to the best case scenario.
Honey, I understand. I'm just saying we're not everybody's main fuck.
I disagree. Everyone who's listening right now, please tweet us.
Yeah, they're listening. There's people that aren't listening because they didn't like the way we tickled their balls. I mean, look, it's just a fact of life that you're not going to be for everybody. So we appreciate those that have stuck around, but for those that primarily listen to us on their commute and they've been furloughed, as it were, we get it, we understand. But we look at the facts. Most podcasters I'm talking to, they're down 30-40%. I mean, it's a big hit. We spend our whole life trying to get to that number where we can start monetizing the shit. It's a big hit. I'm not trying to guilt anybody, but you know what I mean? We were somebody's slam piece and now we're not. And it's not, they got HPV proverbially and they don't want to fuck around anymore. And that's what the COVID-19 is. And we found out today, this is what's interesting, okay? This is what's interesting is that we are being provided by the universe, whether it's through some grand conspiracy or there's actually a huge virus going around, which we do believe the virus is serious and all that. I just, we wonder, I think we all wonder if what we're doing is the right thing. I think it's safe to wonder that. I think it's healthy to wonder if we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, but they've said from the beginning that if we do what we're supposed to, if we follow protocols as designed, then we will avert crisis and then look back and feel like we overreacted. And that's how it's supposed to be. It's much better than the opposite, where you look back because we didn't act and wish that we did more.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. And I think, and of course, do we really think that governments want to get rid of all of this tax that they would be making. Like, I don't
lose money. No,
it's one of those things where the conspiracy doesn't make much sense, but you do wonder, with it being a political year, how this will play out with this quote unquote war with this faceless enemy that we have. And it's interesting, to say the very least. But the point of that is, now they mentioned today it might be 3 more months.
Hallelujah! You need that button.
Do I have a I don't have a hallelujah button. I can get you a hallelujah button.
Hallelujah.
Let me get a hallelujah sound in here. But yeah, they say it could be 3 more months. Boy, it's really hard to talk and do this at the same time. We really need a producer here. Now that we have 30% less subscribers, it's a perfect time to upgrade to a producer. Why the fuck, of all times, this thing won't open?
Don't you have like a thumbprint?
I do, but I got I think I wore out my thumbprint from all the sanding that we've been doing.
You sanded off your thumbprint?
I can't fucking open my dang laptop right now. It's locked.
Why don't you just type
Honey,
it?
this laptop has never not opened. And the second I want a hallelujah soundbite, my fucking...
All right, well, let's just move on.
Fingerprintless
Relax.
finger. Yeah. So anyway, for those not watching on the YouTube, we are... What are you laughing at? We are... Yeah, I'm funny. Or on the YouTube, you'll notice we've got a perfectly sanded kitchen table that has been we've literally sanded it down probably about a pound's worth of dust. Sawdust is in the air, and my finger, literally, I don't think I've got a fingerprint anymore.
Perfect time to kill you with your body in a dumpster.
My dental records are gone. What does that have to do with it? Made in association. I don't know. So we are in complete restoration mode, but this all ties together because 3 months off, we start to wonder, what can we do? Because it's not 3 months off. It's a sort of weird gift we've been given to recalibrate who we are, what we're trying to do, and how strong of a base we can create for when things open up moving forward. I mean, how pissed would we be if 4 months went by and we just watched Netflix nonstop? I mean, we've watched a lot of Netflix, but
I enjoy Netflix, but yeah, it's a balance.
I think we've done a really good... I just looked at my finger.
No, something's frozen, obviously. Why don't...
I know. I was relying on the contents of this computer.
Let it go.
Touch ID or enter password.
See, it's frozen. So you just need to shut down your computer.
Great. So I'm going to lose all my tabs that I had open. Anyway, so we've got a lot of thinking to do about what we can do to make everything in our lives a better thing. I mean, what we're reupholstering shit. I mean, we're really working.
So much brain power is absorbed, and just physical energy every day doing your mundane day-to-day stuff. Going to work, driving, dealing with your crazy boss, dealing with your coworkers, coming back, cooking dinner, dealing with the kids, taking your dog out, whatever it is. Uses up a lot of mental energy every day. And when we remove all that from the equation, we can kind of take a step back and start from scratch. How do we want to improve ourselves? We've got a clean slate, start from zero. When things get back to normal, what do I want my normal to look like?
Clean slate. No one's listening to the podcast. Start from scratch. Or was it a rhetorical question, or are you asking me?
No.
It's not a rhetorical question? What do you think, if you could change... I mean, obviously, one of the bigger problems that we have, and a lot of people have known about this, is that we've literally survived. And again, not people are in way worse scenarios, but we've kind of put ourselves in one of the most costly cities in the world, trying to start our own family of sorts, and it becomes tough, even with the market as dodgy as it is, that people are just buying homes in cash for triple the price that we can afford, and we're here in what is essentially a studio apartment, trying to make this be our vehicle for creation. I mean, and it's like the simple things like having depth of field when you shoot a video. We don't have any of that. It doesn't exist.
Mentally, room to expand, right? I mean, they say when you are trying to create abundance in your life using law of attraction, you visualize expansion. You visualize abundance, right? And it's hard to do when you are literally stifled in your small goldfish bowl.
And we're both affected differently. Like for me, I think Bluetooth headphones and a sliding barn door is enough for me to escape you and get into my creative world. But like, it's not great, but we literally have taken what would be a difficult, like it's like us communicating was difficult before we moved in together, right? It was something that we've had to like really overcome. Not physically violent, but violent, like topsy-turvy. Like 1 second we're fine washing a car and the next second we're in a fight. And then when you move into a 600 square foot apartment, even before the COVID issues, you expose more of those problems. Now, the thing is, in hindsight, getting out of this small apartment shouldn't solve our issues. But the fact that we've been able to manage them and really thrive under these conditions means that we're ready for like bigger and more. But we've whittled it down to a very small petri dish that we live in, and we've survived. We're still in it, and we're not just surviving, we're doing things to create the best scenario. We're in a kitchen right now that's got, studio podcasting, light fixtures, and when we, spend 5 minutes switching it over, we can host a dinner here. Like we're literally living in an RV of an apartment where we just have, it's a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, we're making it work for sure. But I do think that it's a tough balance between your favorite philosophy, leap and the net will appear, and like playing it safe, living within your means. And not necessarily, I feel like sometimes playing it safe is a bad connotation. It has like a negative association. Playing it safe is responsible. Playing it safe, especially in the middle of a pandemic, is something that we should absolutely be prioritizing. But also, without, it's hard to explain. For me, I just feel like at certain points in your life, you really start to crave change, right? And I feel like I'm in one of those phases right now where I'm really craving change. And it took me a while to even put my finger on it that's what it was. That's what I wanted. But I feel like I feel similar to the same way I felt right before I moved to Los Angeles, in that I felt like my life, particularly professionally, had plateaued. I had ended a relationship in New York, and I just wanted something different. I wanted something more. And sometimes you have to make a big drastic change to help facilitate your move into the next phase of your life. I feel that same thing now. And I had this conversation with you either last night or the night before, 2 nights ago, about just like this time off has given me a lot of perspective about what wasn't working for me. And sometimes when you're in the thick of things, you don't know. It's hard. You don't realize what it is that's not working for you. But the thought of going back to work for me, it provokes an anxiety attack. It like feels so horrible. And it's not that I don't like the kind of work that I do. I really, really enjoy it. But it feels like
unfulfilled.
Well, I don't feel creatively fulfilled. I don't feel like this is the kind of thing that I want to do forever and ever. I don't feel necessarily well respected or valued. And more than anything, I just feel like it's time for the next phase. And it's hard to know exactly what the next phase is going to be, but something's got to change. I feel like something's got to change in our apartment. This place has been my home for a decade. I love it. We've really made it work. We've improved it so much.
We know we'll miss it too.
And we know we'll miss it. It's a lovely spot. But I do feel like it is time for us to enter the next phase of our life. And while, you mentioned before, we would love to buy a house, it's obviously hard to do in Los Angeles. We've been doing a lot of passive looking, but, it's hard to know what to do when your options are limited. Do we move into a bigger apartment? Well, that cuts into our ability to save.
But do we then create better content because
that increases our income?
And look, we're not in a limited place where we're like, well, if we only had that, we would do this. We're already doing crazy amount. I mean, We create more per square foot than fucking Steven Spielberg does. I mean, think about it. Like, we are like, I always respected my friends who can make a feature film with a zero budget, because it's like, yeah, it's easy to make Transformers when you got, $600 million in marketing, but my buddy Kevin shoots a film, pulling favors out of his asshole because that's all you can do to make it work.
Yeah, so this is not making excuses. This is not dwelling on our limitations. This is about creative thinking, right? This is about, just really examining our options and examining our ideas. But yeah, I know that personally having this time off has allowed me some breathing space to really take a look at what it is that hasn't been working for me. Because sometimes when just one little thing is off, and we said this the other night, it's like a chiropractor just has to like adjust one thing, and then like your all over body pain feels better because just one thing was off. If your hip is just slightly off or your back's just slightly off, it makes your hip off, it makes your knee hurt, it makes your ankle hurt.
You're at the center of a plateau. You're at the plateau. You're there, but you don't know the next step to go up. And that's the question. Now, for me, not to make this about me, but a good codependent will. For me, when you say you don't know what you want to do with your life and you want change, I take it as you don't think I'm holding my weight. And again, I'm not saying this for you to like respond, but like I'm taking batting practice with a corked bat, swinging out of my ass, trying to hit a home run on every swing. And again, I don't mean that in a way where I'm being reckless, but everything I'm doing right now is the pure investment in not renting my time, creating, a sustainable life where I can work as a filmmaker or podcaster or YouTuber or, build an audience for stand-up. Everything revolves around that same thing. And our actual like break even, like our nut, so to speak, is so low to start that even a modicum of success or a modicum of heat in the industry will open the floodgates for us, I believe, to make some big moves. It's just like, how long do you show up for, like, by making YouTube videos, by doing the podcast, by doing all these creative things? How long do you do it before it pays off? And are you willing to, and I'm not asking you personally, but I'm saying in general, are you willing to ride out the storm? Now, being in the pandemic that we're in, it exposes a lot of things because we're kind of given this time to think about it. But I truly believe, and we've read about this in many different books. I think what's the one that I'm reading right that I've had out there forever? The book that was written about succeeding, the how to be rich. It's really not about the quote unquote being rich. But you know what book I'm talking about? Can you get it? Can you get it real quick?
Was it the one on the floor? That's
the one. It fell off the bookshelf. We've been renovating. It's literally under a table. Go get it, because that's what I'm talking about. And I right when you, the book, all the principles that it talks about, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, right? All the principles that it talks about, every single person who's got success, every single person, the main like trait they all possess is the tenacity to not quit. And I'm not saying you're quitting or I'm quitting, because sometimes the best decision is you make a left turn or a right turn. But the idea that we've been saying is like, success might not be made overnight, but like we talked about today, if we need to start writing if you need to start writing a travel blog, we do it together in order to build SEO so that people can find your shit, because that's the game you have to play, then we got to start playing that game. We got to start playing all the games that successful people are playing in order to get to that lifestyle while we have this stay-at-home order, because there's nothing stopping us from. It feels like multi-goal syndromes, but we look at it right there. We wrote it down, our Venn diagram. What I want, what you want, and what we want in the middle. And I feel like every relationship should have this sort of Venn diagram. Feed yourself. Feed your partner. Tasha needs to be fed. She's eating right now, guys. You got to feed them constantly. Throw almonds at them. Even if they're not hungry, just throw them at them. One of these days they'll get hungry. They'll open their mouth. They'll be happy. Get them some of those seaweed papers from Trader Joe's. Anyway, so we need to consistently feed each other and be of service to each other. And that's kind of how we'll grow with each other. So it's great that you're having these questions. I look at it as more of I'm happy you're questioning yourself type of way, because I've been questioning myself on every step of the way. I got a million preconceived notions thrown at me from myself, from the industry, from family about what works, what doesn't work. And then we'll get these random gifts from like a stranger who will like both physical gifts and also emotional gifts where people will say you're on the right path, keep moving forward. And those are like our little guardian angels saying you're worthwhile, you have enough, share it. And that's really hard to hold on to on a day-to-day. We can talk all day long about the things we need to do to get success, but then tomorrow's a new day and the coffee wears off and where are you? And it's just a long race that we have to be okay knowing this is a beautiful time that we have what could be several more months before we even begin to go out into the physical world and do shit again. You know? So how do we formulate a game plan even if we don't know where it's heading to? You know what I mean? Because that seems to be what it is formulating.
Well, and that's another thing that we have touched on before, but I think it's so important to reiterate specifically for you. For me, I find that my dreams and passions are limited. And limited maybe isn't the right word, but they're few and far between because I feel that I'm the type of person that could be happy doing pretty much anything. I'm pretty easygoing. I have a small number of things that really excite me. I think you also have a lot of things that you could do and you would be happy, but you are more in tune with specific goals that you have and specific dreams that you have. And so because you have a lot of them and I have sort of few of them, I feel like I'm easily suggestible. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay. In the Perfection Detox, Petra talks about releasing expectations, right? And I think when you have like a laser vision on something that you want, you get blinders on and you get tied into like, this is the end goal, this is the path to get there. And because you have those blinders on, you don't see other options. Me, I think I have an ability to see other options just because I'm kind of easygoing. But for you, I feel it's harder for you. I feel it's harder for you to sort of release your expectations, release control over your path to success, and to be open to other options, to be suggestible, to follow the breadcrumbs.
So what breadcrumbs aren't I following?
I don't know. I mean, we sort of got into it the other night because I expressed to you that I feel like I am happy to help you with doing whatever you want to do, whatever your like, video of the day or whatever it is you're working on. But I don't feel like my wants and the things that I find exciting get a whole lot of your mental energy. And I know that I could really use your help. I could really use your input. There are some things that are just not in my wheelhouse. So when I get an idea and I want to bounce it off of you and I feel like you don't really take it seriously, or you kind of shut it down, or you immediately twist and turn it into your own spin, which is something that's like not what I'm envisioning at all, I take it really personally.
Yeah. Well, there is trouble with collaborating in that way, with not knowing someone else's vision or what the expectation is. There's been plenty of times where, I've helped you with editing something, but then it's not what you wanted. And I feel like I've spent all this time on you and you don't appreciate it. Like,
yeah, but you know what? And refinishing our furniture has highlighted this. If you don't know, you don't ask.
Well, yeah, but sometimes. But I also
that's generally your idea.
But I did a good time to.
It happened with a stain, right? You didn't know how to do it. You didn't ask. You just did it. What was the other thing? Like one day before that.
Well, no, I did a good job. No. First of all, I think you went.
Section of sanding on the base of our table, you went against the grain. You did it in a coarser sandpaper than I requested. Instead of just asking, hey, why did you say you want this lower grade sandpaper? Instead of just asking. And then with the thing, I said, you had seen me doing it the way I'd been doing it. Just a light wash, immediately wipe it away. and you didn't do that, and you didn't ask about it.
Yeah, but I was also
you just kind of go for it.
This involves a ton of context.
No, I'm just
on my
saying
end.
you.
So
but if you
I'm not going to respond
don't
to this.
have a solid interpretation of how I'm envisioning a video styled, don't you think it would be simpler to just ask instead of spend 20 hours doing it your way and then being disappointed when
it's a communications issue, of course. So you're right in that we both need to be aware that the other person's not going to receive what we want to do without even as much as I know you, I can be like, oh, Tasha's not going to go for that. But there's plenty of times when I'll go through all of my best intentions to help you make something and you hate it. Now, I've learned a little bit about what your style is, but I got a good style too with things that I create. It's just we're different, and that's okay, and we can play to each other's strengths. So we need to be open. But look, if you want to create something and I even float an idea by you, that you have a hard time too. So we both have. I'm not trying to turn it around. I'm saying we both are. I mean, look, we're Taurus, by the way. It was your birthday, so I wanted to play something, but I can't open up my computer again. Fuck me. Hold on. Fuck this shit. I'm not kidding when I say my thumbnail doesn't work, but it's Tasha's birthday. So I had an 80s version of birthday that's non-licensed that we can play for you. But yeah, look, we're growing as humans and as our soul, but we're still going to be stubborn cunts to each other. If you could only see her dancing, go to the YouTube, folks. This is what I have to deal with. Tasha, who taught her how to dance? Get Tasha's dad on the line. What did you do? It's 5 minutes long. Should we play the whole thing? Or fade it out? Look, so look, yeah, we're both Taurus. We butt heads. But look, you in your whole explanation of it all, you made it seem like you know how to sand and I don't. Like we have different things. We're just like, you know what I mean? We're different. But I didn't get to where I am. Paint these beautiful walls. I make this logo over here.
Literally,
architect this thing.
Listen, I'm not trying to downplay your walls, but if you can find a way to do something half-assed, you will.
Well,
you will. That's just part of your personality. You do not care about attention to detail at all. So when I say do it my way because I'm the detail person, just do it my way.
It's like I'm putting lipstick on a pig in this apartment sometimes.
Don't make an excuse.
I'm just saying, I'm not trying to paint
always
behind the fridge.
Have an excuse.
There's a fucking fridge and I got to paint behind it.
You always have an excuse for why you can't do it 100%.
But there are things that I spend good time on where I understand the value of that.
Yeah, only your things.
Well, that's
like
not
the
true.
Podcast. 4 hours getting a perfect intro edit. I don't know. I'm just saying when it comes to my things or things that are important to me, babe.
Well, here's what I see that's important to you. We've talked about this several times. We got to get your blog up, even if it's just a portfolio for you to show other people. We keep reinventing the wheel when you pitch, because guys, Tasha's does a really good job. I mean, you got us a freaking random island in Thailand to stay at. What the fuck? You do a great job. So we need to have that home base for you. And I'm okay. I'll ghostwrite the whole thing. I could bang that out with an espresso, no problem whatsoever. Like we said, it doesn't even matter. I mean, if you read some of my YouTube descriptions, it doesn't matter if it's good grammar. It matters about getting the right words in the description and all that jazz.
Yeah, but I don't. Here you are already making it half-assed it's just a concept.
I'm saying I'm a good writer, so I can bang that out if you want to be the one who's filtering the photos and doing all that jazz. And then it's a collaboration. So I want to help you.
All right.
But it sometimes it feels to me that you want help in ways that I just can't give you. And it doesn't mean I can't try, and I need to make sure that I don't say, babe, I don't know how to do that. But when I say I'm going to learn how to edit, I said that over Christmas break, right? I'm paying $30 a month for this stupid software. I might as well learn how to use it, right?
But you're paying $30 a month for this stupid software, and I've tried to get you to get some LUTs, which is basically filters for video to make my videos look better, and you refuse to do it not once but 2 times.
Well, whenever there's a pandemic happening and influencers are trying to sell us shit, I am very skeptical of it because we have friends.
Who cares, Dave? Who cares?
I just don't think it's a deal.
Who cares if it's not a deal, if it's something you're going to use every day? You're perfectly fine spending a ridiculous amount of money on a roadcaster in the middle of a pandemic.
Thank you to our Patreon members, patreon.com/thesap.
But you're not cool with spending a little bit of money. And it's not even about the money because I told you I'm buying it, but I need you to install it under your software that you already spend $30 a month on.
All right, here's the deal. Look, we were going, this is an aside. People don't know what we're talking about. We were going to buy the thing. We agreed on it. And then like, I don't know. It just didn't happen.
No, I told you today is the last day. I need you to buy this right now.
Today's the last day?
No, the last day was when I told you it was the last day.
You think they're going to stop receiving people's money if we want to buy it?
No, but the sale's over.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be the same price when they do the sale next week. We'll do it.
They'll do the sale in 3 months because that's the last time they did this sale.
Well, how about this?
And I told you to buy it and you ignored it for 10 days while it was on sale, or 12 days or 14 days, whatever it was. Here we are again. As soon as they announced the sale, I started sending you it every day. I started tagging you in the posts about the sale. And then on the last day of the sale, I told you today is the last day of the sale, buy it. And you didn't.
Honey, yeah, you're right. Well, I don't have anything else to say other than let's talk about it. Let's try to get it, and let's learn how to do Lightroom together. Like, this is just shit that I'm not, you know what I mean? It's like, this is stuff that I don't quite speak the language of the things that you wanted to buy. So I'm not an expert on it. I don't claim to be. I'm a comedian who.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
who has to learn every.
You're committed to learning when it's your things, and you're not committed to learning when it's mine.
No, I want to learn your things. I've obviously learned and made and edited your videos and do these things. You know, I've don't get me wrong. I mean, half of our vacations, you don't even know I'm on the vacation because I got to operate the drone. I'm the drone guy. I'm not in the thing. I'll crash the drone if I get in. You know what I mean? Like it ain't easy. It ain't easy. But this is we're here to talk about, as a case study, the points behind it all. That we have to meet each other with our grievances in a way that we present them. Sort of like in the court of law. Like, I'm glad you're presenting your grievances, but you also have to know that I try very hard to help you out with everything you're doing. And we need to just, whenever we have moments or days or even weeks where we're not on the same page, we have to sort of put aside the emotional reptilian feeling about it and go, okay, what can we do to fix this? What can I do to help you out in the best way possible? Just like for you, like, what can you do to help me out in the best way possible? How can we support each other? And that's the important thing about a relationship, is supporting each other. So I know if I had to invoice all the time and effort I've put, Tasha, will you please just, you're looking at bugs on the ground.
No, I'm not looking at bugs. I'm looking at a dent in our freshly sanded table, probably from this mic stand. But nobody could see that. You were talking along just fine. So why don't you finish your thought?
Annoy the shit out of me when I can't understand. Look, we go on rants. It sounds like we were trying to slit each other's throats. Maybe we are. Who knows? I don't have fingerprints. Hey, that's the one, you know. But the point is, okay, I hit the wrong thing. The point is that we have to, and I heard this on a tick. I was watching TikTok. There's a guy, he's a minister with his wife. They truly look like they unconditionally love each other. Who knows? Maybe he's banging dudes at a truck stop somewhere, right? We project. Who knows? But they said that the way to their happy relationship is to be 100% of service to the other. I'm willing to be of 100% service to you. I just can't always A, read your mind, or B, follow through. I can't always follow through. We ask a lot of each other. You, like, trust me, you are a full-time job. If I could bill you for the amount of hours you make me, like, it's a full-time job, okay? It is.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Okay, that's the episode, everybody. No. We got to get out of here.
But let's be real. All relationships are a full-time job.
Look.
Social media is a full-time job.
It's
podcasting, making YouTube videos, creating content is a full-time job. And it would be so nice if we could afford to pay an assistant to help us out with the things that are difficult for us, or to pay a coach to help put us on the right track, outline some guidelines for us.
Is anyone a web designer out there?
And be sort of like a manager, someone to help keep you on track. But we don't have the funds for those things, so we have to do a good job of holding each other accountable. What's this? Is this the saddest? All right, this is pump up music. We have to do a good job where we can of helping each other out, holding each other accountable, showing each other the pathway to success, showing each other how we should order our lists to get tasks done. You're going to have to delete this sound because you're never going to use the fucking in a yurt sound.
Look, you're right.
No.
You're right about all that. You're right. So not everyone is in the position we're in where we're like self-actualizing and creating. A lot of people have jobs and they do. Why do you keep looking at on your phone? That's important. We're in a goddamn pandemic.
Listening.
What's on your phone?
You.
Why's your phone?
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you after
Please.
this. Something.
Is it important?
Yeah, something exciting.
Can
in
it
the
wait?
Works on my email.
Is it good for me? Or is it more work for me?
It's good for both of us.
Okay, good. Good to know. Can you turn your phone the other way so we can finish the damn episode?
Why don't you just say your sentence? Nobody else was distracted by me peeking at my phone for
if
half a second.
I'm distracted, look, it's popped up again. Give me the fucking thing. Give me the phone. It's done. Turn it around.
It says Neals and the other Channing followed Hollywood posers on Instagram. See their posts.
Yeah, that's spam. You're getting spam from Instagram. Turn it around.
I was trying to promote Hollywood posers. If you want to get mad about everything, if that's your personality today, just go on get mad about everything.
The mention of Hollywood posers gives me anxiety because we worked so hard to build up a YouTube channel where we do commentary of people taking photos in public. And you know what happened? We hit 1,000 subscribers. We were ready to shoot season 2 in March. And then the quarantine told everybody, don't go outside and take photos in public. So what are we supposed to do with that fucking show? I don't know. Anyway, look, yeah. I'm trying to stay focused. It's hard when you're reading Instagram on your phone, okay? That's my point. I hear you. We're going to figure this all out. We need to keep faith that we are making the best decisions for each other. You have to realize that you've got more money in the bread jar. You've got all those things going on. I'm, clawing with my fingertips to create a position for myself in the comedy universe. I don't mean that in a desperate way. I mean that in an overly, crazily saturated world where I'm trying to carve out my audience. All the things I love to do, it pretty much with any business in the world, it all whittles down to how many people can you reach? What's your email list? All these things. So whether it's a podcast subscriber, a YouTube subscriber, or what, trying to put butts in seats when this world gets back in order. That's what I do. We're trying to sell some soap at a show. You know what I mean? So it's all the same thing. I love to create. I love to make people laugh. I love storytelling, and I love meeting people. The podcast is a slice of that pie revenue. And when it's all going to click, it's all going to click at once, and it's going to be a good thing for us. It's going to be a good thing. And we just need to keep the faith. I mean, none of what I'm doing, it's not like we're like, imagine, I proposed to you, Tasha. I put a ring on your finger. So my YouTube channel's yours. I did all that. Okay. So you have to remember and remind yourself, if you feel like I'm running in a different direction, I'm not one of your ex-boyfriends. I'm your fiance. Okay. So if it looks like I'm running in a direction, that's a direction of success. When I tell you, oh, babe, this video made $18 on YouTube, that's exciting because while that's not a lot of money, it shows that there's a path there, I
agree. And we've said this on the podcast before, that my success is your success and your success is my success.
And they complement each other.
Sometimes I just, sometimes I'm going to be of the opinion that whatever it is you're working on is not the best use of our time.
And I understand that, and then we need to know when what is our time versus what is time that you and I both need to do for our own thing. I'm happy to help you, but I can't 100% always be helping you, or I won't feed my own things, and I want both of our things to be successful.
Absolutely, but I want you to realize that what you just said is what I've been feeling for the past 6 months or longer.
Because, and here's the deal.
My things are being left to the wayside.
So what?
And it feels really shitty.
So what can we do so that on a pretty much weekly basis, you feel like I've put in the right amount of hours to help you. I don't mean that in a way where I'm trying to punch a time clock, but help me organize it all, because
I mean,
I work
it would
really
be
hard.
really smart of us to establish a content schedule. That would be really smart. That way we each know what each of us is doing on any given day. If Monday is film my content day, and Tuesday is film your content day, and Wednesday is editing day.
You know, I know that's great. And what I was thinking about too is, like, if I'm going to be the one who, like, if I'm worth X amount of money as an editor for you, then you need to know, like, we both need to be like, okay, Dave's editing the video for Tasha today. Tasha walks the dog. Tasha does the kitchen. You got to pick up the slack. And I'm not saying you don't. I'm saying we need to know, all right, if Dave's doing these things, don't let me procrastinate and feed into the resistance that will keep me from doing those. Because let us have the hike be the reward, but not.
You're right. You're right. And I think that looking forward to accomplishing a task that maybe isn't so exciting, knowing that the reward is then getting to move on to a task that you find more exciting. You know, it's like any job. There are bits of every job that are boring, but you do them because you have to.
Yeah.
And I think we're onto something with
this. Is a good breakthrough, honey.
Here.
This is a good breakthrough for us, because we're articulating some deep resentments we both have. You've got a resentment that I'm not helping you enough, and I've got a resentment that, like, no matter what I do, it's not enough. Because, like, it doesn't mean either one of us are wrong. It means let's figure it out, because.
But you've said yourself something that, like, we haven't addressed. You have said that you realize that you will do things your way without asking questions about what I really want, right? So let's work smarter, not harder.
Right.
Let's pay attention to the little details. Let's ask questions when something's unclear.
You can't be a mind reader. So if I need you to sit next to me when we're editing something, strap in, honey. Strap in, because that's how it works. I'm operating a professional software.
And just like you said 2 minutes ago, we need to figure out what is the best use of our time. The best use of my time is not sitting next to you, looking over your shoulder, micromanaging. The best use of my time is getting other things done.
But you might have
while you get things done.
We can sit down.
We can buy ourselves one of those little butler bells, and you can ring the bell whenever you have a question, whenever you need me.
You're like a slow deli. I'm like, I pulled the card 3 hours ago, and I'm like waiting for you to get back to me. No, look, if you and I mean, yeah, like there are times if I need you for vision stuff, you need to understand if I'm asking for you to look at something, try to respect that. Like, I'm trying to help you, and I'm not a mind reader. So, like, you might see something in a fresh set of ways, and I want to create something that you really like. So I think we're in the right direction there. It reminds me of, like, we've been talking about the F1 racing, Formula racing, or NASCAR, right? So, like, you got the pit crew, right? You got someone whose only job it is to unscrew that nut so that someone can put a fresh tire on. We need, like, when I'm editing with, like, Channing, and he's like the pro editor, I'm going to get him coffee. I'm blowing him. I'm doing whatever I can do. Hey, man, you need a refill? I'm like his bitch, because I'm trying to help him work as hard as he can at editing, because he's better at it than I am, right? So, like, if I'm working on something for you, I can't be the guy making the sandwiches that day.
That's perfectly fine.
I know, and I'm just letting you know. So when we need to, like, and this is where it becomes challenging. People are stuck at home. People need to realize, like, you don't own the right to somebody just because you guys are at home. Like, offices are moving to the home. You know, we don't know if I don't know if you're on your phone because you're on Instagram and you got stuck on TikTok, or if you're doing something for work. Like, we need to overly communicate with each other what we're doing in time, so we don't just think the other person's not doing shit, right? So I think we're onto some good things here. I had about like 10 different things I was going to read, questions I was going to read from my laptop, but I might have to save this. You know, I was thinking about, since this episode was 2 days late, that I might do a solo episode for Friday. I've been saying that I'm going to do that every week, but I do the we do the private episodes for the Patreon, which, by the way, our latest Patreon episode we recorded on a road trip a few days ago. Yeah, that was a fun time. It was, it was a heat wave. It was 108 degrees outside, and we thought we almost melted the podcast mixer. I'm glad it still works. But if you got the funds and you're all about it, go over to Patreon and check out all the content we've got on there. I mean, I know it's funny to say we got less listeners because of the pandemic on here, but I'm telling people we get messages all the time from people that we didn't even know were listeners. So we thank you guys for being listeners. And if you do have the funds and want more content, that's a great way to support us. I mean, right now we are up to about 20 people a month, and it doesn't seem like much, but it's literally paid for a lot of our studio upgrades. It's paid for this beautiful new mixer, and I don't know if the audience can tell how much better the audio is, but with the same microphone, same cords, but brand new mixer, we've really stepped the game up a lot. And when we talk about Leap in the Net Will Appear, I do believe in providing us with the most professional tools helps us tell our story. Some of those tools involve living in a nice house. Like you want to, talk about baking food, but we can't do that. We can't really show. I mean, our kitchen is serviceable at best. we're not winning any awards at the Marie Callender's annual pie bake-a-thon here. But I guess this is a good time to mention that this is the first episode since both of our birthdays, and we did have a cake challenge.
We sure did.
Do you want to summarize how the second half of that went? Because the first half we talked about my Corona cake.
Everyone saw, I think, on Instagram the Corona cake I made for Dave.
Which was a spherical ball of gluten-free yellow cake. You made it funfetti on your own.
Yeah, it was gluten-free, vegan. It was a gluten-free cake mix that I bought. I made it vegan, which just means that I used almond milk or coconut milk or hemp milk, whatever I was using, and no eggs. I used an egg replacer, and it turned out beautifully. I made it funfetti myself because Dave had requested funfetti cake. And yeah, I made a dome-shaped layer cake, and I covered it in blue frosting, and I rigged little Coronas out of Sour Punch straws and
which, by the way,
Jolly Rancher gooey things.
Tasha's been enjoying every night.
Oh, they're so good.
Sour Patch straws. They're like Sour Patch Twizzlers.
Punch, babe.
Sour Punch. Wow. Or no, they're made by Jolly Rancher, right?
The
brand is Jolly Rancher.
Sticky ones that we had are Jolly Rancher.
Yeah.
But in general, I just really love sour candy.
Yeah, it was really good. Tasha loves a good sour candy. Now, this cake war that we created is a really good example. We're kind of doing this backwards. We created the cake war, not really understanding what it was about other than something fun to do. But, my message I've been thinking of for the last few days has been this serving others, in a relationship, 100% serving you. And I think that's the beauty of this, is that I gave you a blueprint of something I wanted, and you made it for me.
And I made it happen. Yeah, it's actually a really beautiful example of how just communicating exactly what your wants, needs, and expectations are can get you the result you want. It's like around your birthday or Christmas time when your family's asking you, what do you want? And you say, I don't know. And you don't give them any ideas. Well, be prepared to get socks and underwear.
It's May 12th and I want a birthday card and a Valentine's card. Where's my Valentine's card, Tasha?
But the point is, if you spell it out for people, exactly what you want, need, expect, then you'll get those things.
And look, if you were busy and had work to do, I wouldn't be like, make me a Corona cake. But like, obviously, this was in good fun. And I also gave you something to make that I thought you would do really good with. I didn't give you something to make that was too ambitious. Which brings us.
So mine turned out beautifully, and I think Dave was pretty impressed with my cake. So I think he was determined to step up and be competitive.
I'm like a sleeping bear. Like my competitiveness. Like if we were playing wiffle ball, I wouldn't feel the need to beat you bad at wiffle ball. If I was playing Darren, I might, because he's closer to, we're at a similar skill level, so like we'll want to beat each other. But like
I'm ready to admit that I'm competitive. Yeah. I'm not crazy competitive, just like in an everyday, but get me out a board game, yeah, I want to win.
So what you asked for was the perfect making this cake was the perfect example of a growth mindset, because I didn't know anything.
Well, first, let's talk about my directive, right? When you gave me the directive of the Corona cake, you had drawn an entire diagram. You had really laid out what you wanted. You drew me a diagram of the cake. You named your color palette.
I basically drew what it looks like.
You told me you wanted funfetti. You really didn't provide me with a whole lot of creative freedom. You even said you preferred looks over taste. Luckily, I gave you a really good tasting cake.
Just like in my relationship.
But you really spelled out exactly what you wanted. When I gave you a directive, because I'm easy to please, I gave you a lot of creative freedom.
You gave me a mood board.
I did. I gave you a mood board. So I basically said that I wanted a Harry Potter themed cake, and I kind of left it up to you how you wanted to make that come to fruition.
Well, first off, that's way harder than a Corona cake. As is, because the coronavirus is spherical with little nubs. Harry Potter is a British wizard. Okay.
Yeah, but I put lots of different types of cakes, and if you saw it on my Instagram, you can see about the mood board. Maybe I'll add it to a highlight.
Right.
When and we can put up IGTV.
We're gonna make a video on YouTube about our cake wars, where we're gonna have your mood board images and the final product and everything we did to get there.
Yeah, sounds good. But I gave you lots of different styles of cake. There was a butterbeer cake that was pretty simple. There was the Harry Potter face cake, which was what you ended up making. There was cakes with snitches on top. I really left the design elements up to you, and there were plenty of ways you could have done it simply, but you being competitive, you really went all out.
Well, I went for a design that I knew even if I messed it up, I could redo. So a lot of the frosting and stuff, I was like, all right, if I really mess this up, I can still fix it. So I went with a design that, versus some of those designs, like if I want to make a Harry Potter crest or something, I'm going to mess that up. That's not going to happen.
So you went for simplicity.
I went with a design that I think would look the best with the least amount of skill. And don't get me wrong, it ended up taking way more skill than I had probably imagined. I had to create fondant, which is basically the thick layer of frosting. It's the stuff that
you see on like really high-end cakes, like wedding cakes. It makes it look smooth. Normally when you put on frosting, it is kind of fluffy. This is the smooth, thick layer.
It's like a wetsuit of icing.
Exactly.
And you need,
good.
Yeah.
Very descriptive.
But you need to make this, roll it out, and do some crazy stuff. And it comes in different colors. And I think most people, I don't even know where the cake's posted. I don't think it's on my Instagram, the final product. But let's just say I got annoyed by how many compliments I was getting. I love a good compliment, but once I know something's so good, I almost don't need the compliment. It's like, I get it. I have nice hair. You don't have to keep telling me. You know what I mean?
Everyone send Dave a message, tell him how nice his hair is. He'll like it.
But if you were like, oh, Dave, your arms are looking good, I'd be like, oh, I needed to hear that. It's been a while since I heard I had nice arms. You know what I mean? So like this is a weird way to put it, but I became so aware of how good the cake was that I was okay. I was like, all right, no more talking about the fucking cake. Because you were getting a lot of messages from people being like, geez, Dave beat you.
Yeah, you did an amazing job on the cake. It looked fantastic. I am not sad at all to be beaten because I am truly a winner by having such a beautiful cake.
Not to mention half of it's in the freezer right now. Come on over, people.
I mean, it was a beautiful birthday cake, and I felt really special that you put so much time and effort into making this beautiful cake.
I found a website that designs the font. Are you going to cry?
No.
You look like you're crying. Only Harry Potter can make Tasha cry. In Chinese food, if you've listened. I found a website that had your font, and I was going to, but that's another example of I minimized my risk because I was going to write your name in Harry Potter font with icing. And I was like, this is no way this is going to come out good. Like it was way above my pay grade. And I realized I would just print it out and stick it in a sign and put it like a foreclosure sign on a house. I just stuck it on the top of the cake. But I followed directions and I figured it out and it was good. But I mean, in here, look, I mean, not to pat myself on the back here, but do you realize the little things I do to make you feel special? I let you help make the last parts of the cake. I could have done that shit by myself. I let you help so that you would be involved. No, you were going to
skip that part. You said Harry Potter didn't need cheeks, and the cheeks were cute.
But then I realized
I let
you do the final.
And I wanted a snitch, and I made a snitch.
I let you do the
and
scarf.
I did the lightning bolt.
Guys, I built a fucking scarf out of sugar and
Gryffindor's.
marshmallows. I mean, this was like legitimate, folks. Okay, this was legitimate. This was a pie you would be very happy to buy at a store and impress your friends with.
Yeah, you could 100% charge $90 for that cake.
And the problem is I would have barely made minimum wage to charge that much. But I think if you made 5 of those cakes at a time, you could. I mean, it's just one thing. You know, it takes a lot. But I could see myself making special cakes for people in the future because it does fit into the gifts that I have. Like, I like to give people my gift of time and like something physical. So like to show up to somebody's birthday and have like a real cake you made for them, and we didn't even talk about when you slice into the cake.
Oh yeah, he
Jesus
made
Christ.
the
I mean,
layers.
It's just like a gift that keeps giving.
It was a layer cake of Gryffindor colors.
Yeah, it was maroon and gold layered gluten-free cake. And anyway, I'm personally sick of eating that cake because we had the same style of cake 2 weeks in a row. But it's frozen, and maybe for 4th of July or something, we'll forget and find it in the back of the freezer and we'll eat it again. But we still have the front part of Harry Potter's head, although I did have to cram it into it looks like I beheaded a cartoon because it's so weird. It wasn't exactly a human designed Harry Potter. It was very Picasso-like in its direction. But anyway, yeah, it was a good case study for us, challenge for us. And I think we gotta punch up this episode and finish here. But I think part of what we talk about is in a relationship, having the willingness and the desire to learn from each other and be committed to growing together. And a lot of times we'll have these problems where like you've got this existential crisis on your hands with where you want to take your life. And it scares me because, I don't know if you're going to wake up one day and go, I want to move to Kentucky. And it's like, well, I thought we were building this pirate ship here. So like, there's a lot of times when I think we've got to really lean on that Venn diagram and go, I can help you with your things. And I need you to know that I need your help. Because we can.
This is why we discuss this stuff, right? This is why we break it down. Yeah. Was I pondering calling off the engagement 2 days ago? Yeah, I was pondering it.
You were?
But I realized that.
Were you really pondering it?
I was really pondering it.
Why?
Because something's gotta give. And, our initial discussion where I was trying to talk about some of the things that we talked about on this episode today, I didn't really feel like it was well received or that you even wanted to discuss any of this stuff with me.
We specifically do a podcast where there's no time limit. And again, it doesn't have to be on the podcast, but I've never been like, you know what, babe, I'm done talking. Ever. So I don't know what that is in you that thinks I don't want to have these conversations.
Let's be real. 2 nights ago at dinner, when I brought up the things that we talked about on the podcast today, how were you feeling?
Well, it's hard to say exactly how I was feeling, but I'm always inquisitive to how I can help you. And I get very, very defensive if you look like it's like in a toxic way. It's like when a guy say a husband and wife are fighting and he's like, it's like the fucking show we just watched, Little Fires Everywhere. Is that what it's called? Mm-hmm. Guys, this show on Hulu is awesome. I don't want to even begin explaining it, but it seems to be a common trope. Like, one person's the breadwinner, they work their ass off, they make all these sacrifices, and then the other person doesn't appreciate them. I'm not saying that's our case, that like I'm the breadwinner by any means, but like I do a lot to like help myself and to help you, and I think I'm like the creative minister when it comes to trying to keep us motivated.
I have to agree with you in some ways, but I think let's flip it. The pandemic has really changed our dynamic financially, right? Because I'm not making any money. I'm not qualifying for any amount of money that even comes close with unemployment. And I know that it is a mental and emotional and physical burden on me to feel like I'm a slave to my jobs and my career because we need my cash flow.
But it's not like, I mean, we're both...
It's a huge burden on a woman, I think, or maybe just me personally, to feel like all of this financial weight is on my shoulders.
Here's the benefit to what you're saying. Here's the benefit for me to be a comedian who's not single. I am well aware, and we've had this talk a bunch, I'm well aware that I have to start pulling triggers in a lot of different ways. I mean, I took some big fucking rejections this week on my script. And those rejections are good. You say that,
but those weren't even proper rejections. Like you did.
One was. Well, I was rejected from the biggest connection I've had with my script with a big time showrunner it could have been the perfect story where like I snuck in, I private messaged this guy.
Yeah, but why are you putting all of your eggs in this basket? No, I mean, think about it. When you walk into an audition and you're so desperate for this one that's perfect for you, that you've made it up in your head that this is it. I mean, all of your nervous energy spills over and you shoot yourself in the foot.
No, my point is that these are swings that I've taken that are getting me closer to hitting the long ball. So what I'm saying is I took some big swings this week, some big rejections, but I'm putting myself out there. I've written the script and I'm writing other things and I'm creating all these other things. So I'm pulling triggers in a way that's like it might sound crazy, but it's pretty coordinated. In all of the ways I can think of to gain that success as efficiently as possible. And when that comes, and I know it's not far away, we will be reaping the rewards of putting ourselves out there and having these crazy conversations where we're just wondering, because for those people listening, like I don't think some of my friends that are multimillionaires are any more talented or less talented than I am and than you are. They put themselves out there and they hit it early on. And that's sort of the problem and the blessing with operating in a gig world is that we don't always have control over the yeses, but we keep putting ourselves out there, and then the cash flow that comes in when it's time cuts out a gigantic middleman. Because we're all doing the same thing. We're all working for somebody in some form or another. But what we're doing, waiting for the podcast to be featured, waiting for the right person to find us, waiting for YouTube's algorithm to finally say, okay, this is it. Because we both know people that in 6 month time go from 1,000 to 140,000 subscribers, and then their cash flow quadruples. Absolutely. And again, I'm brick by brick building quality videos that I like and learning and getting better at vocalizing myself on the podcast, and you're getting better at...
I want to chime in that I don't have any... Not that I don't have any doubt, but I do see and believe that all of this is possible. But I also am living in the present, right? And so I'm allowed to simultaneously look at best case scenario, what can happen, and be in our truth, because our truth is our present circumstances.
I hear our present circumstance is also a product of our past. So like sometimes when you're like, fuck, you break up with somebody, you got to cut your hair. We've talked about this, right? Yeah, like your hair can like hold trauma. This fucking kitchen table held trauma. We're sanding it down. I mean, it's a good metaphor, but we're sanding down and varnishing a lot of trauma and past experiences and creating and buffing up where we want to head in the future. You're smiling. I want the audience to know that I think you believe me. And it's about bottling that faith in a way that it's there even on the tough days. So content calendar, having faith that we're really getting each other's best interest, and knowing when we're creating something that we pick up each other's slack. Make me a goddamn sandwich one time or another.
I made a salad. You didn't
I'm
want
just
any.
kidding. It's a figure of speech. We have bratwurst we can eat in the fridge. So this is good. This is a good chat. We feel good about it.
Yeah.
I had all these things I was going to do and put on the podcast. I guess I'm going to just release an extra episode, or maybe I'll put them on the private Patreon. We didn't get into anything I was going to even remotely talk about on this episode. We've got a good community here. We've got a ton of past podcast guests that are in similar situations where they're rising up with us, and I want us both to appreciate what's going down. It's a weird time, and faith and action is the best thing we can keep right now. So let's keep on putting our faith in ourselves. You know, you make good money doing your modeling. What we can do when we go straight to the buyer is going to blow that away. You know, like we've talked about before, where I go, what if we had a gigantic following? What would you create if I just made you make us merchandise? You know, and I think you were talking about maybe
I do loungewear sets, 100%.
But what was it?
Sets.
What were we gonna make? Was it like
Scrunchie
a scarf?
sets.
Scrunchies, yeah. And I was like, you go to
loungewear sets with matching scrunchies, absolutely.
And that's something I think you should do now if you want to make them, because now's the time to just make shit, you know, because I really do believe that as we keep going in the direction we want to go, it's all just, it's like when someone solves a Rubik's Cube, you don't even know what the fuck they did to get there. Well, this is our Rubik's Cube. We're working on algorithms on YouTube and you've seen me just shuffle the way I say words on a YouTube thumbnail, and then all of a sudden the video gets 4 times as many views. Unfortunately, with podcasting, it can be a little bit of a slower scenario, but we're putting ourselves out there. We're almost at 400 gosh darn episodes. We've done it for a long time. I don't know if anyone cares to hear all this, but this episode was a case study of how of an effective way to communicate so we don't hold on to any bitterness. Let's release that bitterness and continue sanding our kitchen table.
Metaphorically.
And physically. Write in sexactuallypodcast@gmail.com. Big shout out to Kyle. Oh, you know what? I'll end it but with Kyle. You know, Kyle was one of our go-to Patreon members who would come to all of our mimosa shows, and I hadn't heard from him in a while, so I didn't know what was going on. So I asked him if he's even alive out there, and he goes, he told me he's been busy with work, and he works at a hospital, so he's been working nonstop. And he goes, but I listen to your podcast and solo episodes every week. I'm also listening, and I really think the content you've been putting out just keeps getting better and better. I've been extremely lucky to stay employed through the apocalypse, and I just keep working on myself, and the podcast has a ton of insight for that. Quarantine made being single fucking rough, though. But how's everything been with you guys? And he says, and can I buy some more soap off y'all? We got some soap there, Kyle. You know what? We'll hand deliver it to you. I think you're, an hour north of us, but we got some free time. We'll go for a drive. We'll stop by a Sonic's drive-through. We'll get you some soap. Absolutely. We actually just ordered some of the supplies that we would always used to buy at Lowe's. The lye, which I always forget what the chemical term for that is. What have this?
Sodium
hydroxide is
super.
Like it's a super strong chemical. They stopped selling it like anywhere, so we just ordered on Amazon, and it's going to be delivered in a few weeks, and we'll be making new batches of soap, baby, because that's what we're going to keep doing is creating, and we appreciate our loyal army for sticking to it out there. We appreciate all of you guys, both the regular listeners and the Patreon listeners. And if the only call to action I can have you guys do today, it is to go follow the SAP playlist on my YouTube. There's always a link in the description here. If you just go to my YouTube, you can see all of the past episodes that we have in video format, including this one. And it's basically the premier place to try to grow a podcast these days, YouTube. Some of our old episodes, like with Jess Mulder, we had a threesome. We talked about her time on Thrinder, how it led to her getting a divorce. That episode has just continued to grow legs online. Some of these old podcast episodes, we put them on YouTube and they continue to grow, versus on the podcast app, they kind of just fall, into the abyss. So YouTube is the premier place to keep on growing. Not to mention we make a few bucks from our YouTube people that watch. So if you have a YouTube or don't, get one. They're free, and leave a comment over there, subscribe, and hopefully we can keep, because the more that grows, the more this grows, because we're trying to create more video content and all that jazz, which we've done. Leap in the Net will appear. We're getting out there. I'm rambling. She's Tasha. Anything else you need to say?
Nope.
That's the episode. Bye, everybody.